What's up everyone? I'm Trey Baird. Let's walk and talk. So as of the time of recording this video blog, we are receiving winds from Hurricane Irma. So if that's affecting the sound quality of this video, I apologize in advance. We are in week 2 of Slow Burn Horror Week here at Swollen Thumb Entertainment. Celebrating the holiday season here in 2017, and with Halloween right around the corner, what better to talk about than horror-themed things in general. I'm a big fan of horror. I'm especially a fan of slow burn horror. And if you're not sure what that is, it's basically when the horror movie builds in intensity. A lot of times the first or second act may not even be all that scary. Some people might call the first and second act boring. And that's what I wanted to touch on today. Is slow burn horror boring? Really depends on what your tastes are. When it comes to entertainment options, we're living in an age of extreme privilege. And I don't like using that word, but that's what it is. We have so many options available at our fingertips. We have so many choices to make when it comes to how we want to be entertained. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, when people talked about horror movies, what came to mind? Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and to a lesser extent, Pinhead. That was about it. Am I saying that other forms of horror didn't exist? Of course not. I just did a top 9 list of my favorite slow burn horror movies, and several of them were from before the 90s, when I grew up. But we're also talking about an era where there wasn't a heck of a lot of diversity when it comes to entertainment. The big corporations had a stranglehold on the entertainment industry in a way much less common than what they have now. So when you have more options, everyone wins. For those of you who would find a movie like House of the Devil boring, and I don't blame you for that, different strokes for different folks, but people like that may be more suited to a slasher film that may be more up their alley. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good slasher film every once in a while, but too much of it and it gets really old really fast for me. I don't want to use the word boring, but it's not the worst word I could use to describe my feelings on slasher films. I mean, for real here, I forget how many movies there are in the Friday the 13th series. It's gotta be like, in the double digits. Well, I know it's in the double digits, but I forget exactly how many. But unless you're a huge fan of the series, they start to blend together because you start to wonder which one was this character in. It's very formulaic. Even the Saw series, which is still a slasher series in my opinion, it's a sophisticated, more intelligent slasher series, but they blend together too. I mean, you have the typical formula. Introduce a whole bunch of characters, then you introduce your serial killer protagonist or antagonist, however you want to look at it, and then you just start killing off all the characters until one of them does something and then stops the threat temporarily or permanently, and then the movie wraps up. Lather, rinse, repeat until the series becomes unprofitable. I mean, do you get what I'm saying? Everyone's perspective on this can be different. I'm just explaining how someone might find the slasher series of horror movies to be boring. Just like I can understand how someone would find slow burn horror to be boring. It really depends on what piques your interests. To me, I love that feeling of having invested my time in something and to see it pay off, to see that gradual build up. That's what really gets me going. That's what I enjoy. In your case though, maybe you don't want to invest that type of attention and that type of time. Maybe you just want a little distraction from your day-to-day life. Maybe you just want to see some blood and guts. Nothing wrong with that. We've all been there. And I've known horror enthusiasts who want to debate the difference between horror, thriller, slasher. I mean, they get really hung up on these labels. And to me, that's not what it's all about at all. I feel comfortable calling any movie where the intention is to horrify, where the intention is to make the viewer unsettled, as opposed to, to give them an adrenaline rush. To me, that's horror. Unfortunately, though, we live in an age of labels. Everything has to have a label, and if it doesn't have a label, it's not a legitimate thing, and it's not worthy of being a talking point if it can't be comfortably labeled. Ooh, a squirrel. Sorry. I guess I've been hanging around my dogs a little too much. Anyway, perhaps it's not really a label thing at all. Maybe you want to judge these things on a case-by-case basis. Maybe you think House of the Devil is boring, but The Exorcist or The Shining is not. I can totally understand that. On a side note, I am really digging this weather right now. I'm sorry that there had to be a hurricane to create this type of weather, but man, is it nice. A little windy though. I'm sure that it's affecting the audio quality a little bit, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to work my shots around it. I mean, we are entering, and we're not entering, we've been in an age of instant gratification for a while. People just don't have a whole lot of patience, and for better or worse, that's just where we are as a society. People don't want to sit down and wait 30 to 60 minutes for something to happen in a movie, and I totally get that. Believe me, I do, because that's how I am with a book. If I'm not hooked by the end of the first chapter, I don't want to read it. That's just how I am. I don't want to invest days of my life, hours, into something that doesn't grab my attention. So you're not going to get any judgment from me. I just think that to label an entire genre boring because of the very foundation that it's built on is a little bit unfair. Because as I said, the word boring is subjective, and I can make a case that slasher films are boring, even though that's not personally my opinion. I'm just playing devil's advocate. At any rate, I think I made my point on the subject. This isn't a very deep subject, so I'm going to end it here. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.